and they had a lot of that crap and they tried to amortize it. Well, that was my job. Dory said, everybody has got a crap salesman. Warner's had Bogart, and Paramount has Alan Ladd. We got you.
Each day, I drop a brand new story about Hollywood's golden age, the time when legends ruled the screen. If you're into this kind of old-school drama, hit that subscribe, drop a like, or leave a comment. It means the world and keeps this channel alive. It's totally free, but your support keeps the stories coming. Now, let's dive straight into this wild tale. Before his death, Robert Mitchum dropped a bombshell about Charlton Heston, a truth nobody saw coming. Robert Charles Derman Mitchum, born August 6, 1917 in Bridgeport, Connecticut, didn't grow up with the glitz or the fame we associate with movie stars. His childhood was tough, constant moves, money struggles, and a life that taught him to fight back early. His father, a daredevil stuntman, and his hard-working mother, who was always hustling to keep food on the table, showed Mitchum what real life looked like. Those early struggles built up a toughness in him, a kind of raw grit that became his signature both off and on the screen. That rugged edge wasn't just an act. It was who he really was, and audiences could feel it. Mitchum didn't stroll into Hollywood with fancy connections. He clawed his way in. After bouncing from job to job, taking gigs as a stuntman and even small background roles, he slowly caught the eyes of big-time directors. That deep, gravelly voice and calm, no-nonsense presence made him impossible to ignore. By the mid-1940s, with movies like 30 Seconds Over Tokyo, 1944, and Undercurrent, 1946, Mitchum showed the world he wasn't just another actor. He had that quiet power that pulled people in. While others in that era were dramatic and over the top, Mitchum played it cool, subtle, controlled, and real. He built his name playing the kind of roles that blurred the line between good and bad, the mysterious anti-hero with a heart you couldn't quite read. During the 1940s and 1950s, that edge catapulted him into stardom, and Hollywood would never be the same again. One of Robert Mitchum's breakout moments came with Out of the Past, 1947, a film that defined the noir era. In it, he played Jeff Bailey, a private detective caught deep in a dangerous web of lies, desire, and double crosses. His performance didn't just impress critics, it cemented him as one of the greatest noir icons ever. Mitchum could deliver the perfect mix of cool distance and hidden pain, bringing that dark, smoky tension the genre lived on. What made him unforgettable was that icy calm, that effortless swagger that hinted at something deeper beneath the surface. He didn't just play his characters, he became them, making every role feel raw and lived in. Whether he was a heartbroken lover, a scheming villain, or a quiet hero trying to stay out of trouble, Mitchum made it all look real. But here's what really set him apart, and his range was wild. Even though people saw him as the ultimate brooding bad boy, he could flip the script any time. In The Night of the Hunter, 1955, he played the terrifying preacher Harry Powell, and wow, did he make audiences shiver. With just a calm stare and a soft-spoken threat, he could freeze you in place without even raising his voice. That quiet menace hit harder than any shouting ever could. Then came the surprise. Mitchum could be charming, funny, and even warm when he wanted to. In lighter films, including musicals like The Story of G.I. Joe, 1945, he showed a softer side that audiences didn't expect. That balance between danger and kindness made him one of Hollywood's most magnetic stars. Off-screen, Mitchum kept that same rebel energy. He wasn't the type to bow down to studio bosses or play the Hollywood game.
But as an American, I am as stirred by the fact that this is true as I am by whatever capacity I have to empathize.
Known for his sharp wit, dry humor, and total dislike for fake behavior, he carried himself like a man who made his own rules. His run-ins with the law, his love of fishing and poetry, and his reputation as a smooth-talking ladies' man only made him more legendary. Unlike many Hollywood icons of his era, Robert Mitchum never lost touch with reality. While others got trapped in the glitter and noise of fame, Mitchum kept his feet on the ground, often slipping away to live quietly, almost like a recluse far from the flashing lights. His public image wasn't some made-up Hollywood act. People could feel the realness in him. Every glance, every pause, every low-toned line he delivered carried a raw truth that audiences instantly connected with. He was a rare kind of star, a man who could stand inside Hollywood yet stay untouched by its illusions. Mitchum knew exactly what fame could do to a person, but he refused to let it own him. That's what made him so magnetic. He played the game, but never let the game play him. And his influence, it went way beyond the big screen. Mitchum's deep, unhurried voice and his calm, powerful delivery inspired generations of actors who came after him. His brand of effortless cool became the blueprint for what toughness and masculinity looked like in modern cinema. Directors loved working with him because he didn't need endless takes or fancy coaching. He just got it. He had this instinct that told him exactly what a scene needed, and he nailed it every single time. In a time when acting was often loud and exaggerated, Mitchum broke the mold. He proved that real power could come from saying less, from a single look or a small gesture that spoke louder than a whole page of dialogue. That minimalist, almost mysterious energy made him timeless, admired not just as a movie star, but as a craftsman with a presence that couldn't be taught. Away from the cameras, Mitchum had another side, one grounded in loyalty and family. He married Dorothy Spence in March 1940, and their marriage lasted nearly 6 decades, a rare feat in Hollywood. Dorothy, often described as calm, patient, and incredibly strong, stood by him from the very start, back when he was still hustling for roles. Their relationship went through chaos, rumors, and all the highs and lows of fame, yet their bond held firm. Together, they raised 3 children, each learning what it meant to have a father who was both a Hollywood legend and a man constantly surrounded by controversy. Fame tested their family over and over again, but somehow, Robert and Dorothy's partnership stayed solid, proving that even in a world built on illusion, some connections were real and unbreakable. Robert Mitchum, the man who oozed effortless cool and carried the bad boy of Hollywood label like a badge of honor, was far from the picture of a loyal husband. His charm was magnetic, and when mixed with the wild temptations of the film industry, it led him down a path of countless affairs that became legendary behind studio doors. Everyone in Hollywood knew about Mitchum's wandering ways. It was an open secret that the tabloids couldn't get enough of. He lived by his own rules, never worrying about what society thought, and that made him both fascinating and frustrating to those around him. But through all the chaos, Dorothy Spence, his wife and lifelong anchor, never walked away. Her calm grace in the face of his betrayals stunned everyone who knew her. She didn't air her pain or seek revenge. She carried herself with quiet strength and composure. Maybe it was love, maybe it was understanding, or maybe it was that deep, unshakable bond that no scandal could destroy. Whatever it was, it kept them together for nearly 60 years. Their marriage, which began in 1940, wasn't the fairy tale Hollywood loved to sell. It was messy, human, and real. Through fame, temptation, and endless rumors, Dorothy and Robert stayed side by side until his death in 1997. A record-breaking union in an industry where relationships often fell apart faster than movie premieres. They weathered every storm, his public scandals, his legal run-ins, and the pressure of being under constant watch. And somehow, beneath all the flaws, Mitchum still held on to one truth. Family mattered. He might have been reckless, even selfish at times, but he never turned his back on the people who grounded him. Their story isn't one of perfection. It's one of endurance, complexity, and love that refused to quit. In a town built on short-lived romances and broken promises, Robert and Dorothy Mitchum's bond remains one of Hollywood's most complicated yet lasting love stories. A marriage that defied time, temptation, and fame finally came to its end only when Robert Mitchum passed away at 79. But before his final curtain call, the Hollywood legend, famous for that gravelly voice, cool stare, and mysterious aura, had a few things to get off his chest. Known for being brutally honest and never sugarcoating a thing, Mitchum went out speaking the same way he lived, bold, real, and unfiltered. In one of his last interviews, he made comments that rocked Hollywood to its core. When the topic of fellow actor Charlton Heston came up, Mitchum didn't dance around his thoughts. He went straight for the truth. He said, Charlton wasn't always what he seemed on the screen, or even at public events. He added that people loved to worship Heston like a flawless hero, but there was a side to him most never saw. That statement hit like a thunderclap in an industry built on image. For decades, Charlton Heston had been seen as the ultimate Hollywood hero, tall, commanding, and the voice of moral strength in epic films like Ben-Hur and the Ten Commandments. His reputation was pure, his image spotless, and his presence on screen almost godlike. So when Mitchum hinted there was more to the man behind the legend, the entire industry took notice. Mitchum's words weren't just gossip. They came from someone who'd seen it all. He wasn't a man to spread rumors or chase drama for attention. His insights came from decades spent in the trenches of the entertainment world, where fame, ego, and rivalry were part of daily life. Mitchum understood Hollywood's hidden layers better than most, and when he spoke, people listened, even if what he said made them uncomfortable. His take on Heston peeled back the polished surface of old Hollywood, hinting that even the most respected icons had secrets and complexities lurking beneath their public image. And coming from Mitchum, a man who never played by anyone's rules, those words carried the weight of truth that couldn't easily be ignored. We worked in the same circles, went to the same parties, the same premieres. You start to really see people, Mitchum explained. You understand who they are when the cameras aren't rolling, and not everything matches the legend. That one line cut deep, exposing a truth most in Hollywood tried to hide. That the glamour often covered something very different underneath. Mitchum had always been known for calling things like he saw them. While other stars spent their careers polishing fake images and managing what the press could print, Mitchum walked a different road, raw, real, and totally unfiltered. He never pretended to be perfect, and that's what made his words hit harder. His honesty about Charlton Heston wasn't gossip. It was a reflection of his lifelong refusal to play by Hollywood's rules. Honesty, even if it's uncomfortable, matters more than pretending, Mitchum once said, and he lived by it. When talking about Heston, he didn't hold back the complicated truth. He could be incredibly charming, Mitchum recalled, but there were times when his stubbornness and need for control made things tense. It wasn't said with hate. It was said with understanding, like a man who'd seen the price of fame up close. Mitchum wasn't tearing Heston down. He was painting the full picture. He recognized that behind the stoic screen hero was a man wrestling with the weight of success, power, and expectation. As the years passed, Heston's political voice, especially his leadership role in the National Rifle Association, began to define him more than his movies ever did. But Mitchum hinted that those same traits, the dominance, the pride, the drive, had been there all along, even in the early Hollywood days. And then Mitchum went a step further, talking about what few dared to admit, that Hollywood friendships could be tricky. In that world, loyalty and rivalry were tangled together. Smiles at red carpets didn't always mean real connection, and deals made in laughter could turn cold in a heartbeat. Mitchum knew that behind the champagne toasts and flashing lights, the business was full of people acting even when the cameras weren't rolling. People like to think the stars all get along, he said, but it's a business first and the friendships are complicated. Charlton was no different. You never really know who's your friend and who's playing a role off camera.
These are the times that try men's souls. The sunshine patriot and the summer soldier will in this crisis shrink from the service of his country. But he that stands it now will earn the love and thanks of man and woman.
With that, Mitchum pulled back the velvet curtain and showed how fame can blur the line between real and performance, even among so-called peers. He wasn't out to tear down Heston. He was trying to humanize him, plain and simple. Mitchum wanted folks to remember that behind the statuesque image and big-screen hero roles was a real person with contradictions, nerves, and ambition, just like anyone else. That's the part outsiders miss. The public sees a legend, but the people inside the room see the full, complicated human being. There was a quiet ache in Mitchum's reflections, too, a sense that time was catching up and the masks were slipping. Speaking not long before his death in 1997, he sounded like a man summing up a lifetime of watching Hollywood spin its myths and then crack under the weight of them. When you've been around as long as I have, he said, you see the cracks in the masks people wear and you realize that the truth about someone isn't what you read in magazines or see in interviews. It's something else entirely, something far more human. To Mitchum, that was the real story. Not headlines, not press junkets, but the private truths people carry when the lights go dark. And in his final chapter, the rough edges and hard-living image that helped build his legend came back around in a way that couldn't be escaped, a stark reminder that even giants are still human after all. Robert Mitchum was rarely seen without a cigarette in hand. It was as much a part of him as that lazy grin and cool, half-lidded stare that made him famous. He'd been smoking since his younger days, long before anyone talked about the dangers or slapped warning labels on the packs. On film sets, during interviews, or just relaxing between takes, that cigarette was always there. Not just a habit, but a piece of the legend. For Mitchum, smoking wasn't simply something he did. It was something that helped shape his whole image. It gave him that rugged, no-nonsense look that audiences loved. The world-weary man who'd seen it all and didn't care to explain himself. Whether he was playing a tough detective, a cowboy, or a soldier, that thin stream of smoke added to the mystique, making his brand of masculinity feel raw and real. But time doesn't let even legends off easy. After decades of lighting up, the toll finally caught up to him. In his later years, Mitchum was diagnosed with lung cancer, the cruel price for a lifetime of defiance. The man who once seemed untouchable, larger than life, began to show signs of wear. Friends noticed the change, the tiredness in his step, the shortness of breath, the way his once commanding presence grew quieter and frailer with each passing year. For someone who had built his legacy on strength, composure, and that iron self-control, the disease hit especially hard. It stripped away the physical power that had defined him for decades, yet somehow his spirit never broke. Those close to him said that even as his body weakened, his sharp wit and dry humor stayed strong. Mitchum never hid from the truth. He faced his illness the same way he faced everything else in life, with that trademark bluntness and quiet acceptance that said, "It is what it is." Robert Mitchum never played the victim, not even at the end. He didn't chase sympathy or try to make his suffering look poetic. That just wasn't his way. He faced his declining health with the same cool honesty that had defined him his whole life. He knew the truth. The years of smoking and hard living were catching up, and he didn't try to hide from it. Mitchum accepted the price of his choices with quiet realism, never pretending to be innocent, never asking for pity. That blunt acceptance showed exactly who he was, a man who faced life and death without flinching. On July 1st, 1997, in Santa Barbara, California, Robert Mitchum took his final bow at the age of 79. His passing didn't just mark the end of a life, it marked the end of an era. He was one of the last true giants from Hollywood's golden age, a time when stars carried mystery, danger, and brilliance all in one breath. The kind of actors who didn't just play characters, they were them. When news of his death broke, Hollywood paused. Tributes poured in from actors, directors, and critics who had admired his work for decades. They spoke of his rare talent, the way he could say more with a single look than most could with a full speech. He could shift from menace to tenderness, from weariness to irony, all in a heartbeat. His performances weren't polished. They were real, lived in, and unforgettable. Robert Mitchum wasn't just a movie star. He was a force. And even after all these years, his presence still lingers in every shadowy frame of classic cinema. If you enjoyed learning about this Hollywood legend, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and drop a comment below. It means a lot and helps keep these stories alive.